All right, y'all, Rickey Smiley Morning Show. Hey, it is about that time, man. Jeff Johnson got 3 things you need to know. Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, Rick. Hey, everybody. How y'all feeling? Happy Father's Day again, Rick.
Man, happy Father's Day to you, man. Thank you, Jeff. Best one ever.
Man, let me tell you. But listen, I know that you probably already talked about this morning how important Kentucky is today. If you all don't know, there is a unbelievably important election happening in Kentucky where Charles Booker could be closer to being one of the few African Americans that have ever been in the United States Senate if he's able to win this race. And Rick, you and I both know that this is not only an attempt to see an African American elected as the Democratic nominee, but also a move to increase a level of energy around defeating Mitch McConnell in November. So, you know, if you know somebody in Kentucky, if you think you know somebody in Kentucky, even if you don't know anybody in Kentucky, use every bit of energy, social media you have to encourage our brothers and sisters in Kentucky to get out and vote today, to support Brother Charles Booker. He has been he was the youngest black state lawmaker in the state of Kentucky and has been in the House of Representatives for the 43rd District. So not only is he not a Johnny-come-lately, he has proven a level of commitment to the community. And, Rick, I'm super excited not only about his campaign, but the fact that Corona, in many cases, may have positioned him to be able to win this primary. And if it would have been a month ago, he probably didn't have a chance in hell to get this nomination. But the amount of momentum that's behind his brother right now is incredibly exciting. Wow. The second thing I want to talk about on the tail end of this Father's Day is, Rick, did you hear about Trevor Ariza?
No, I didn't.
So this brother is sitting out when they go back to Orlando so he can spend time with his son. He's in a pretty bitter custody battle, and the mother of his son decided that the 1 month she would give him was the month that she knew they were going back for NBA. Right. And so he made a decision. He said, I'm not going back. I don't know if that means that he'll be able to join them late just as a result of the quarantine that they have to go through. But this brother is clearly saying, listen, I know that I could help my team get to the playoffs. I know that I would be a leader for this team, but he's like, my son is more important. And so while this is what I think most fathers should do, this is not the kind of story that we talk about enough. And so I just want to big him up because there's a bigger issue here, Rick, and you know what it is. And what I don't want to get into is the details of mama and daddy stuff, because that's a whole nother thing. I will say that no matter what our issues are, unless a father is putting a child in harm, we don't need to be battling each other. We need to be co-parenting in ways that's best for our babies. And so there's a larger issue at play here that speaks to all of us in our community, which is how do we create better co-parenting relationships that reduce our selfishness and lift our baby's well-being. And so big up to him for his decision to be a daddy before he's a ball player. But really big up to all these daddies that are fighting sometimes unnecessarily to be in their babies' lives the way that they want to be. And last but not least, before I get out of here, Rick, I don't know, man. I want to know if you, at some point, I think we got to have a really hardcore discussion, Rick, about violence against our sisters by us.
Right.
And like over the last couple of weeks, man, whether it's I've seen too many stories and too many videos, and this video of this brother knocking this sister out with this skateboard just incensed me, not just because of the violence itself, but because these brothers watched that stuff. They taped it, they watched it, they laughed at it. And I'm like, who is these dudes, man? Like what in the hell is wrong with you? That you think that in any way, shape, or form, you ain't nothing but a bitch.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? And like, as black men,
hold that thought. Hold that thought, Jeff. I'm gonna bring you on the other side where you can finish, because I don't want to rush it. More Rickey Smiley Morning Show. Jeff Johnson up next. Rickey Smiley Morning Show. All right, y'all. Rickey Smiley Morning Show is the top of the hour, y'all. Jeff Johnson got 3 things you need to know. If you're just joining us, he already done 2 of them, and he was about to make a last point before we went to commercial break. Jeff, good morning.
Hey, brother Rick, I appreciate it, man. I really am incensed, because, like, when I think about what is happening to our sisters and where we are not, and in many cases, listen, I know that what's happening to us as a result of white supremacy and where we are with police brutality, and it's real. But even in that space, we will go as brothers hard as hell on George Floyd, and you got to damn near convince a brother that Breonna Taylor's name needs to be said. Right. And then we see ourselves in places where just mass brutality of sisters by grown-ass boys who think in some way, shape, or form that this is amusing or it's funny or it's justifiable. And I'm literally curious, Rick. This is not a joke. I'm like, you think about Sister Oluwatoyin Salu, who was raped and murdered, and then this idiot with this skateboard, and I'm just like, what are we doing? What are we not doing? How are we defining manhood, Rick? Like, how are we raising our sons? How is and even when you got so many boys being raised by women, you would think that this would be even more unacceptable, because in many cases of what they have watched happen to their mothers or their sisters or their aunties. And so I'm just confused, man. And I need some real men to stand up and let me know what they think. What are they doing already? What do they want to do? What do they need help doing? How do we begin to have a real conversation amongst men, Rick? Not with women in the room, not with them having to beg us, not with them having to plead with us, but because we feel like if we don't do this job, we ain't never gonna get it right as men.
Right. And the ones that's on the front line, the very front line right now, fighting for injustice, is the sisters. The very front line.
Injustice for our family, for our community, absolutely. Period. And I'm tired of having to talk to my sisters asking me, how do we get more brothers to come out? Listen, I know brothers are struggling and working and doing their thing. But, Rick, if we don't get this right, we will never be men.
Right.
And
absolutely.
So I need your help, and we're going to figure it out. But I need your help to figure out how we do this kind of conversation the right way, where we bring some brothers together to talk about this in a real way and to celebrate the brothers who are already doing the work, so that more can model what they're doing on the ground, from protecting sisters just by understanding, don't let no sister walk nowhere by herself. Right. Make sure that you calling and checking up on people. Check your boys who you know ain't right. When something like that goes down, beat his behind, because it's unacceptable. And stop recording stuff and putting it up as if it's entertaining, when all that is one of the greatest reflections of white supremacy. Us beating our women, us disrespecting our women is one of the greatest reflections of white supremacy. So you can't be up on here calling out white people for what they've done and then be the greatest reflection of that white supremacy and not be equally as pissed off about it.
You better preach.
Come on, Jeff.
So I just can't no more, man. I can't.
That's so true.
Right. Jeff, let everybody know how you can be reached.
Y'all can hit me at Jeff. I'm sorry, Rick. I'm there.
No, you good.
I'm sorry.
You good.
Y'all can hit me at Jeff's Nation on all social media. Brothers, I want to hear from you. I love y'all. I'll talk to y'all on Thursday.